for. For example, 2 weeks ago I spoke about NCC and their PF Tier 3 and how it's not coming. I mean, the issues have been there. I can tell you an authority when I started speaking about it, the many different calls I had. It looks like you have an agenda against government. It looks like you're making the government look bad. Plenty calls. Then NCC now, yesterday as I read, they have made a decision and asked that, look, find the money and pay the people. So the very people who sometimes you're fighting for, they end up coming back to say, you have an agenda against a certain regime. And sometimes, I mean, if you don't have a thick skin like some of us, you would give up.
That's what it is.
Because once you start the conversation, that's it.
Well, even when the Greater Accra Regional Minister came and said the same thing, that he made the minister to bring a change, or if you like, bring changes in the system. He started doing it, and his own people started fighting. Because nobody likes change. I mean, it's a natural phenomenon. So if, as I said, the status quo is this way, and you think it must go the other way, they will fight you. So as soon as you set out to do that, you must know that that's what I said earlier, that is what you must assume, that people will not take it. So you go to the end of what it is to get what must be done, you know.
Let's talk to Kofi Asare. He's the Executive Director of Africa Education Watch. He's joining us on the phone line now. It's 7:48. Kofi, good morning. Thank you very much for your time.
Hi, good morning, Johnnie and Tim. Good morning to your church audience.
The Minister for Education, Dr. Ayalse Duchum, has said that non-performing schools will be shut down. How did you take that declaration from the minister?
Let me put the comment in context. I believe that the billions government is spending annually on free secondary education must not just generate increased access, but also curricular and outcomes. And this cannot be possible if school heads are not accountable to learning outcomes that they take from their school. And so within the concept of accountable governance and then also accountability for learning outcomes in our schools, yes, it is good to demand accountability from school heads, whose job it is to manage teaching and learning in senior high schools. However, I wish to indicate that the approach that the minister suggests, is not a sustainable approach. It is not an effective approach, and it will not generate any learning outcomes. What you want to improve this learning outcomes, that approach will not generate learning outcomes. The Western learning outcomes will deny people even the right to education, and because the schools the minister is referring to are schools that majority of Ghanaians don't want to attend. These are schools that are low category schools, receiving students between 35 and 52. Okay, prior to 15 school, such students were not even qualified to go to secondary school because they were above the cutoff. I think the cutoff was then like 30 or so. So prior to 15 school, people with this grade could not go to secondary school because of the quality of the grades. But free high school enabled all who would BC, once you don't get my math or English, you can go start at 52. But because majority of these students are the ones who end up find themselves in these schools, it becomes very difficult for the headmasters and by extension the management of the school teachers to transform students who are the 52 students, to pass WASI and get A1 statistics. That's the reason why you see many of the schools doing between 0 and 10% WASI pass. You go to a region and you see that almost about half of some of the schools there are doing between 0 and 10% WASI pass. And so the attempt to reach a student who obtain either 40 or 50 at BEC can be transformed within 2.5 years within a system where funds meant for running schools do not arrive timely. And like always, headmasters must be threatened to close down schools before funds for running schools arrive in bits. If you have such a system and you expect headmasters to transform I get 40 and 50 students into average students who pass WASI within 2.5 years. And I'm sorry, your expectation is not grounded, by by reality. And that is why I recommend to the minister that the best way to improve learning outcomes in senior high schools is to improve learning outcomes at the basic school level. Increase investment in basic education, strengthen supervision there, and make sure the resources schools need at the basic level are provided them. That is not what you are seeing today. Today, we have a new curriculum rollout at the basic school with textbooks available in only 3 subjects after I checked. Even that, the quantity is sometimes 1:4. One textbook is to 4. And you have a situation where the basic education budget for this year has been slashed by 40%, while secondary education budget has been increased by 30%. If you have a situation where 5,000 schools are remaining under trees and shared, and then another 40% of your, 25% of your primary schools do not have junior high schools and all that, the huge infrastructure deficit with 2.3 million children not having access to debt. You are not going to get any better learning outcomes than the one you are getting them. So you can't put the pressure, or you can't shift the responsibility of not investing adequately in basic education onto the secondary school and expect that they will do magic within 2.5 years. With them an equally, efficient resource gap system at the secondary level. That is where I put the minister's comment.
Are you suggesting that the minister misspoke?
No, I suggest that, you see, as an education economist, I find some reason in closing down some schools. Okay, it will only make economic sense. So if you're not careful, you might toe that line. And let me explain this. So I'm done with the educational accountability, learning accountability, and then, and how to sustainably improve quality and secondary education. I'm done with that. Now, if you look critically at the data coming from some of the schools, some of the schools are operating at 20%, 30% capacity. Some of the headmasters have contacted EduWatch to actually campaign so that students will select their schools. At least as last week. Why? But no one is choosing the schools. You go to a school like Bomoa Mozano School of Music and virtually unutilized. So you see there are many schools like Maurice Senior High Technical School that are receiving students half the optimum capacity continuously over the years. So if you do the economics, you realize that in a school that is having only 400 students, 400 can accommodate 1,000, and you have to pay every teacher because they must have a full complement of teachers. Then you ask yourself, why do you have such schools, about 20 of such schools, in a region, 20 of them, because they are low category schools and they are all about 30% capacity. So why won't you close down two and then move everybody into one?
What would you be doing with the infrastructure if you close down the schools?
No, I'll come to that. So when you do that, then you are cutting down on cost because you are having very, very small class sizes, and then the cost of running the school is expensive, and the demand for the school is just not there. Okay. So what economically you can think about is to merge the schools into one big school, put them into one big school, and then reduce costs. When you do that, the most important thing is that the right to education of those students is protected. Then, if you want to, we are demanding more technical schools. We don't have infrastructure. We are building new schools, and we keep saying that, yes, it is good to build new schools, but ensure that the existing ones have been equipped with enough technical and vocational equipment before you build new schools. So if you have the infrastructure there, you will not have to go and build a system school when you have unutilized. And some of these schools are actually E-blocks. The Maurice Senior High School, for example, is an E-block. Senior High Technical School. Some of them are E-blocks. So you can just convert them into full technical schools, or you need more technical schools, and then find money and then add accommodation facilities, because most of them also do not have accommodation facilities. They are only hostels, they are not dormitories. So there are various ways that they can be put to. Okay, but this discussion has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with learning outcomes. That's why I wanted to distance this one. This is a different one. It has nothing to do with learning outcomes. There is no guarantee that when you close down the 2 of the schools and they go and get a third one, the learning outcome of those who are the 50 and 40 will improve once they enter the third one. No. So this discussion is totally different from the learning outcome. Part of the learning outcome, I've said that the only way to improve the quality of secondary education is to improve the quality of basic education, because the raw material will come from basic. So this is another discussion that we have had with our team members in various courses, looking at the demand and supply situation. Johnnie, if you look critically at the school placement, right. You realize that we have 20,000 more vacancies declared in senior high schools than we even need. 20,000 more. And even for those who will be placed, sometimes 5 to 10% do not even go. So at the end of the placement, you may have about 30,000 places in schools not occupied. When you visit those schools, you see the numbers for small numbers. You understand? And so what I think is that what drove the expansion of senior school infrastructure perhaps was not the economics, but the demand and supply normally should play a role in determining which school to expand. If I am expanding schools, as I'm saying, I will expand Presec by 2. If Presec is taking 1,200, I will expand Presec to 3,000 to a 3,000 intake. Instead of going to expand Gomua Mozambique School of Music by 100% and expanding Presec by 100%, I rather expand Presec by 180% and expand Gomua School of Music by 20%, or maintain Gomua School of Music.
Don't you think, Kofi, that this situation which you're describing to us will pertain or persist if all the schools, I mean, you're talking about Presec, you talk about Achimota, you talk about Accra Academy, you talk about Infantsman, you talk about Wesley Girls, and all those Ivy League schools, because they have the full complement of what they need, which is why, 1, the schools are attractive, and 2, you would want to think of expanding it. Truthfully, I mean, and you've traveled around the country to more schools than I have done. You know that in most of those schools, there's a problem with resources, retooling, and even the basic facilities, including desks and where the children would lay their heads. Don't you think that if we made everything equal, the minister wouldn't have said what he did?
No, I don't think so. I think that once we decided that we are not going to place students in schools they did not choose, we must appreciate the decisions, what informs the decision to select schools. It is not preserved because of the facilities. It is preserved because of the tradition. It is the name. There are schools that are performing better than Presec in Ghana. The performance of Methodist girls it's always been better than Wesley girls in the past 4 or 5 years. We all know that. But some people will, move mountains to move from Methodist girls to category A Wesley girls. So it is not entirely true that once you ensure an optimum upgrade of all schools to facilities and including teachers, it will balance the distribution of demand. No. People want to go to certain schools because of a tradition. And their parents will do anything to make sure they
And if you shut down some of those schools, you would have killed the tradition, yes?
No. If you shut down, the shutting down of schools and merging into other schools, as I said, it's a purely economic discussion. Because if you are running a cost-efficient secondary education system, and you have a school that has capacity to absorb 2,000 students from Form 1 to Form 3, and you have less than 1,000 in the school continuously for 3 or 4 years, and another school is not too far from you, or another school within reasonable distance is operating, it should be possible for you to move all the students to that school. And if you're running a boarding student, the location may not matter. So make sure that the students in that school are moved to nearby school, because running the school is more expensive. It is not cost efficient. Listen, when you deliver secondary, and there was a research that Master Start Foundation sponsored last year, about secondary education, free secondary education in Africa. And Mastercard Foundation says, and I agree with them on this, that the biggest challenge of Africa in expanding free senior high school or free secondary education is the opportunity cost of not adapting cost-efficient approaches. The challenge is that you are declaring secondary education free, where basic education is not entirely universally accessible. So about 20% of the basic education age population in Africa are out of school, but you are declaring secondary education free. Now, the reason why the 20% of basic school age children are out of school is because of limited investment, i.e. infrastructure, resources, human resources, etc. Now, you are carrying that small resources because there is also a resource gap. You are carrying the human resources to go and do free secondary education. It means that you must be mindful in the approach you adapt at the secondary level to the extent that they have to be cost efficient, else you will further derail the 80% progress you have made at this level. So anytime we discuss secondary education, free secondary education, let's have it in mind that approaches must be cost efficient. That's why we have to choose the free senior school the way it has been managed. Cost efficiency is not there.
Kofi, would you say that the government is rather interested in the statistics of how many people graduated per free SHS, how many people sat and passed WASI, instead of making sure that you have the right quality getting into the secondary schools? Would you say the government is putting more weight on that than getting the quality from the basic level?
I think we've gotten to the point, if you look at the curve of the policy, initially it was about the politics, it was the quantitative, the numbers. I've gotten to the point where people are becoming more conscious of the cost. Because where you have a prospectus cost 5,000 or 6,000, which is 3 times how much government is paying under free senior school per student. The government is paying about 2,000. The government is saying that the 2,000, if government hadn't paid the 2,000, you would have stayed at home. You would have been denied at a senior high school. And so that is what the government is doing called free senior high school, only for a 6,000 prospectus to be slapped on the same period, which has even more capacity to keep you home. Then you see that the discussion and the focus is now moving from just the numbers to the issue of hidden costs and how free is free. Okay, and further to the issue of quality, because it is observed that after running free senior high school for 4 years or for 5 years, we are still running the target within the education strategy plan to achieve a gross tertiary enrollment of 40%. Of 40%, a gross tertiary enrollment of 40% by 2030. The baseline was 18.5 or so percent in 2017, and that was when free senior school was being launched. After 5 years, we are struggling to reach. We are 20%. Which per the target, we should have been at 25% by now. We are 20%. It means that even though we are churning out more and more senior high school graduates, about 420,000 every year, less than 41% or so are making it to tertiary. So the focus is again shifting to quality improvement, because the quality of the result does not improve. You can't have more and more students associating to tertiary, and you'll not be meeting your tertiary enrollment target. So yes, I agree with you that it has always been about the numbers, and we're happy about the numbers. But now the reality is that there are hidden costs that have more stronger potential to prevent students from going to school, and that's why the minister indicated that on that same platform yesterday or so, on Friday, that the cost of some of the school's prospectus is unfortunate, and that it can prevent people from going to school, and so they shouldn't deny anyone an opportunity to enroll because they can't buy their prospectus. Unfortunately, it came too late because a lot of students have gone and returned, especially in the northern region. When we had our forum on the free senior school replacement, people complained that they were still home because they couldn't afford about 5,000 cedis to honor the prospectus to school, and they were wondering how much government was paying. Still have about 5,000 cedis financial clearance or financial barrier to clear before they can go to the school.
I see.
So I agree with you that yes, the discussion or the focus of government is no more on the numbers, because the numbers have been achieved. It's more on the quality of the results being turned out, because we need that to improve cross-secondary enrollment. If we expand secondary education and we are not expanding the proportion of students who are entering tertiary, you are creating another layer of unemployed senior school graduates. So that will become a burden to government, and not in future, but today. And so I agree with you perfectly on that. And that is why I keep saying that if you want to improve the quality of secondary education, go to the basic level and improve the quality. Once the raw material and quality, even the resources being spent at the factory and the quality of factory hands, you are likely to see high quality finished goods at secondary level.
At whose doorstep should we place the blame? Policymakers, head teachers, or the students themselves in terms of low-performing schools?
Firstly, at the doorstep of the Ministry of Education and GNS. And let me explain this. When the GNS put in place an accountability mechanism to ensure that head teachers are accountable, we had issues with the way the whole thing was packaged. It was compelling. I mean, it was more or less a request to find a certain KPI. Okay. Now, the KPI basically demanded of headmasters various pass rates. And we had issues with the way the KPI are constructed, because if you set a KPI such that they are only final outcome of it, that just this particular pass in math, in English, or in the core subject, getting particular pass. If you just go and put those KPIs before headmasters, and you still do not give headmasters the resources they need to run schools, headmasters are borrowing money to do that in senior high school, because administrative grants meant for running schools are delaying for over 6 months and sometimes the academic year. Okay. Then it means that you are telling headmasters that we want you to let your students pass, but they don't even know how, because you are not giving them the engine that they need. So it may get to a point where the end justifies the means comes in. So we had issues with the way the KPIs were put on headmasters and the way they were instructed. We were waiting to see KPIs that had both intermediate outcomes and then final outcomes, not just pass rate or 1 and all those things. So I think that the accountability system wasn't designed well and it wasn't commensurate with resources available in schools. We also still believe that the way the management of secondary schools has been re-centralized. It was previously decentralized, but we have re-centralized the management of secondary schools to the extent that even reopening dates are always announced by the GNS. Everything is announced from the Ministry of Education. Everything. So headmasters have no power at all. They are just taking instructions. In basic governance, public sector governance, you can never expect responsibility. When authority is limited. So you haven't devolved any authority, or if you like, any power to take decisions. The schools, they haven't devolved any. Everything is about deconcentration. I mean, giving them only power to take limited administrative. But when it comes to decision making, it is the schools are mainly implementers of decision taking at the center. So on what basis are you expecting such responsibility from 8 units that have no authority?
I see.
Decision making. It is difficult. So the whole government architecture is incongruous. The responsibility that we are expecting headmasters to assume and the outcomes we are expecting them to produce is not commensurate to the power given them to produce. And so we must take a second look at that. That's why I'm saying that we must blame the Ministry of Education for the governance architecture, and how the KPIs were imposed, on schools. I must continue to say that education is a function of investment, and I'll keep saying this. Education is a function of investment. If you set KPIs and you don't spend the money they need to run the schools, and whenever there are strategies and they raise the issue, you do PRs in Accra to address the issue. You don't resolve the core issues on the ground. And if you keep doing that, there won't be any investment. Delayed investment is not investment. For the past 5 years, consistently, we have demonstrated that the Ministry of Finance is only able to finance 50% of the free senior school budget. by the end of every year, by the time the finance minister is reading the budget, only 60% of the 16 school budget is disbursed. So the policy is always in hand. All these problems affect the school. Because it means that the school will not be able to procure things they need they need to facilitate teaching and learning and also proper school management. All of these things affect learning outcomes. If you don't see to the 100% disbursement of funds, approved funds under the 59 school, and you don't see to the 100% disbursement of approved funds under basic education, with captation being arranged for a year or two or so, and you give KPIs to the secondary schools and basic school master, I'm sorry, the KPIs will not generate any result because what is required to work must be available first.
Kofi, so bottom line, the minister shouldn't have said what he'd said. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, within the context, yes, should have. The approach is wrong. Approach is wrong.
Kofi Asare, I thank you very much for your time. He's the Executive Secretary of Africa Education Watch, joining us here.
Yeah.
And
you see,
school they be, but class the ball.
Goes out to all the junior high and senior high students of this country. I know you love me, I love you too. Yes, if I go back to JSS, I would have paid attention in class. If I go back, I would go back to school.
Aid here on 3FM 92.7. William, Kofi said the minister didn't have said what he said.
Yeah, I mean, this is a point I made yesterday, and I'm happy. I always like to hear from experts. I mean, I'm just a news analyst. I always sit here and say I've done so much research as Kofi has done. And some of the statements, when you hear, and you've been around for some time, you know that, look, what the minister said, I mean, no matter how you want to explain it,
it will not explain.
You know, because I am convinced that this government is just interested in getting data to position itself as having done better than a certain government. So when they go to the polls, they will tell everybody, we sent 500,000 students to free SHS, and so we have done well. And as he has said, quite frankly, that is not what education is about. Because we all know how some people, I wouldn't say all people, pass exams. We know.
Right.
From the
ways
creche
and means
to the law school, we know how people pass exams.
Ways and means.
You know. So it is not for you to come and tell me that you had A and I had B. So you don't know my circumstance.
I was actually telling somebody the other time of the weekend when we went to Afuega for Francis's burial that even at the Trinity Theological Seminary, where priests are being trained and pastors, when they have exams, they are invigilators.
Yes. And that's why if the report I have is true,
Helen, what is your problem?
Ashesi has introduced a system where doing exams, they don't put any invigilator. There's a reason.
Yeah.
So if you want to stand just on exam results, and they were happy saying 500,000 pupils have entered free SHS, we have. So look, we all went to Achimota School. I went to Achimota School.
I had the absolute pleasure of going to West.
I'm just
in our secondary school.
The three of us went to grade A schools.
Right.
That's a fact. You went to Wesley Girls.
That's right.
You went to Accra Academy.
Right.
I was in Achimota School. You cannot sit here and tell me that the kind of facilities that we had in those schools, you can compare them to the other schools where they are getting 0 to 10. And the man made that point.
Yes, I asked him that.
Exactly.
That look,
that's right.
And it is not.
You are setting them up to fail.
Exactly. So, and the tradition has been that besides the grades, you go to the school and you come out in a certain way because the facilities will even shape your worldview.
Yeah.
You know, when you go to a school, you wake up in the morning, you don't know where to attend to the call of nature.
Yeah.
and then you become a minister, this thing will show. Because psychosocial, how is the psychosocial?
Yeah, psychosocial
processes,
psychomotor skills,
whatever it is, will tell you. And these are what we are saying that the education minister and his ministry and the government must consider. If you put kids in school, it is not just about grades. Because
and
even
numbers.
in Ghana, the kind of grades that we have is just chew and poor grades. The kind of teaching and learning we went through, we didn't get to analyze things the way we should analyze. So that when we come out with A, we know that you are a solid A student. Very few people have that natural ability to understand things and process things and analyze things the way we all expect. But a lot of us go. If you go to school in Ghana and you don't pass maths and science, you are off. So we should begin to listen to people like this. And not just
your teacher will draw a conical flask on the board for you to see, but in reality, there's no lab.
We were here
for you to even see a conical flask.
We were here when the science and mathematics quiz, the winners, a certain year went to Portugal.
Yeah.
These top students, and they set up the practicals for them to go through. They couldn't do it.
You speak about that. In fact, I just saw a news report. Even those that are in Dubai, they were told they were not able to correctly put together the digestive system.
It is not their fault because the system here,
they don't have it.
They don't have it.
You know, my father, my late father, bless his soul. There was one day I think it was on SS3 or so, and then I used to, science students, you would quote Ohm's law, and you're trying to memorize it and the formula and the rest so you can just pass your exam, literally. So there's a gentleman called Ifo who used to come and fix our stuff, electric stuff, bulb, plug, this, that. So one day I was just ironing and then the thing went off. So I said, well, I'm going to call Ifo to come and fix it. My father asked me, has Ifo learned physics? I said no. So, but you brought me your results from SS1 and SS2. They're good. I've seen first term of SS3. Good. Means that you are very good in physics. You understand what neutral is, what earth is, what this, what that is. So you're going to call IFO to come and fix for you what you have learned in school. Go and buy the plug. We'll fix it ourselves. And that was where my mind got to the point that we're only interested in the theoretical aspects. There's no practicality to what we're doing. The practical aspect is missing. Where did we put technical drawing and technical skills? We used to carry T-square.
And this is where this whole GSS, SST started. Nothing has come up.
Yes, because in my school at Kaneshi Anglican GSS, the washrooms that we used, the open air washrooms that we used, were constructed by us under the direction of Mr. Sam, who was our technical drawing, technical skills. So we knew how to do a bit of masonry. We had tenon saw and all of that. We had a whole vocational space where we'd learn how to do sponge cake and Mrs. Atumbu, and they would teach us how to do that. Today, when you go to the schools, the children, they don't do zilch life skills. We used to buy grey baft. We had needle. We had timber, and then we will sew. We'll do crochet. All of those things. I can do them. We used to do doormats with corn husk and all those things. Today,
before your time in the GSS, do you know what we used to do when they call the arts and craft?
Right.
We'll go to the market and buy papa.
Yes.
We'll go to the market and buy broom, asanka, and come and present. And we'll give us 40 over 40. And the teacher will carry the asanka home to go and eat. And they say, wait, what kind of joke is this?
So, I mean,
and then they'll add the arts and craft to my grades and I'll be first in class.
Yes. And does
that mean that I'm better than the rest of the people?
So clay. We used to mold stuff.
I used to do clay.
I remember all those ones. If you look at the education that's being and the whole concept of JHS at the time, JSS at the time, was to make sure that even if people had that basic education without getting into secondary school and onward to tertiary institutions, they could still find some skillful work to do as carpenters, as masons, as plumbers. That was the idea. Today, there are people who have done first and second degrees. If you are looking for real soft skills, employable skills, they have none.
And in fact, the education minister himself said that we're breeding
assertive.
But we don't have assertive children. We're not having assertive children coming out of the education system. Well, how can
they should invest in infrastructure. They should make sure that the people have washrooms. They have dormitories.
Yes.
They have beds, food to eat, because nutrition also encourages and even helps us
There's a connection.
Make us sharper. when they've done that, now they should invest in the books. They should make sure that the children have what it takes to learn. The teachers have what it takes to teach. Look, I have a mate who wanted to do science in secondary school. Because of this tight mass and things, she couldn't do it. She left and went to another secondary school. She's one of the best physicians in the UK when they went to her house.
Look at
and
that.
This is a medical doctor whose talent would have just been thrown away because
one of the days, as an Anglican, I belong to the Anglican Young People's Association, AYPA. We have a celebration every February called Aruna Nelson, Bishop Aruna Nelson, Major Bishop Aruna Nelson's his day. He is a former soldier who was a South African bishop, acting bishop of the Anglican Diocese. And Professor Ajima Bedu Akosa, he came to speak to us. One of the things that he said was that these days we put so much premium on the grades. Now he said that he was mates with, I think, one of the dean of the medical school in KNUST or so. And then they had set off that year a cutoff point for who could enter medical school. So when he saw it, he said he laughed. He drove all the way to Kumasi and asked him, he said, Prof, like this be the cutoff point where they take then me and you. He said me and you.
I had him in an interview.
He said me and you.
He said he didn't make those super grades.
He said like the cutoff point which you are pressing and putting on the children now. Like me and you. We go to medical school. But today, look at him. Exactly. Him and that professor.
One of the best pathologists.
Best you can get anywhere.
He said
in the
it.
world.
I heard him in an interview. He said, look, I didn't make all the super A's and B pluses. But look at me.
Look at me.
Because that's how.
That's true. That's not to say that there is no place for examination and there's no place for getting good grades. But you have to do that in tandem with other things. People in other jurisdictions, exams carry a certain weight, yes, but so do other things, that practical life skill. We talk about assertiveness, public speaking, emotional intelligence, how to relate to others. These are things that are slowly getting eroded as we chase numbers.
Today, members of parliament or people who are aspiring to go to parliament will organize a mock exam for the district. And then they will get people to mark it, bypass questions, and then the marks will be released, and then they will say, the district is doing well under my leadership. What kind of
Johnny?
Meanwhile, when you meet the children one-on-one and you start talking to them, to
the point where lecturers will come to the classroom and threaten you with grades, you don't learn.
You
will see exams time. You will see. While you do a certain course and you will never have any practical experience. So you leave school, you don't even know how it is.
How do you learn ICT?
Exams.
ICT in the school without electricity and a computer.
They'll draw the keyboard for you and then say.
There was one story like that of a young man pushing mouse on the blackboard.
Using stone for math. And the minister says what? He will shut down schools.
And they use them for what?
Mr. Process. Come again.
Sa onipa de bibia beto chacha na nya na pomodene ya nti se yare a ye kwa yare sabia ye benye